Most of us want to be comfortable. We want to work on things that make us comfortable. We want to live in comfort. And we want to enjoy life leisurely and comfortable. Most of our life, we've been sold this idea was sold as a unifying dream. The American dream is a unifying dream of, you go to college, you get a good job, you buy a home, you create a family, you make money, you retire, and that's it. And in many ways, this dream is crumbling for a lot of people. The dream is crumbling because there are people realizing that this dream left out a few things. It isn't as simple of a dream as it's been made out to be. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what that dream is individually as a person, what dreams you may have, and what are just the next steps potentially forward. So, as an American, I'm an American. This idea of a dream has been sold to me for years, and it was sold to me in a time of massive ignorance because I just didn't know how the world worked. In America, you are able to buy, you were able to purchase land, you were able to purchase homes. And the idea is to purchase and buy these things, and in the future, these things will go up in value and you can make money from this. Also, the dream is that you work for a corporation for 30, 40 years. You retire from this corporation with a pension and a social security and, enough for you to live comfortably with your partner or by yourself or however it may look. And then there's, the dream of building a family, you having kids, you have a dog, you have a yard with a picket fence. And, this is what makes you happy. This is essentially the dream of what makes you happy. And this dream isn't a dream for everyone. This dream isn't happiness to everyone. And so you want to ask, what is happiness? What defines happiness? To me, happiness is being able to live the life that you chose based on the research, based on the experience, based on your thinking, living the life that you chose. And the way this society is set up and structured is there's pressures put on us. There's many, many pressures put on us because the first step after high school, if you went to private, public, whatever it may be, the first step of this dream is to go to college. And I understand that. I went to college. I went to 2 colleges and I graduated. And the experience was a great experience. I'm not going to say it was a bad experience. I met a ton of people. I was able to learn a lot in my classes. I was able to experience a lot. I was able to, have that college experience. I partied. I was social. That's what my experience was. And that's that. That's what that was. I did college for 6 years. 6 years of college. And that experience taught me how to blend in. It taught me how to do what everyone else is doing. And it also taught me that most of us are looking for places that we feel comfortable, places that we feel like we're heard, places that we can have fun, and just being in a united group. And I think that's amazing. I think that's great. my biggest harp about college is that it didn't really give real life experience. It was a very, um, what do you call it? Structured way of learning. It was a very, it didn't really apply real life actionable ways to accomplish it. Tried to mirror it in a sense because you're in a social environment and you are in classes trying to mirror these things, but you're not in the real world. Like you're not going to a business and trying to pitch, why can work for them or should work for them. You're doing some of that stuff in class, but most of it really was centered around how you can work in unison with other people, which I think is great. It teaches you how to work in groups. It teaches you how to work on projects. For me, I've always kind of had a sense of, I want to do something that is of my own, that is learning something of my own. And I'm now at an age where I can look back and I can realize that there were some great things I got from college, but there were also things that I felt like held me back and slowed me down. And I think that if you have a spirit of becoming an entrepreneur, if you have a spirit of becoming a bit more self-reliance, college could potentially slow you down from that because one, it's expensive. And you're 17, 18 years old, applying to these schools, trying to get scholarships to go to these schools. Luckily, I did have a lot of help from my parents because I did want to go to college. I wanted that experience because that's what in my mind was what I should be doing at that time. But then you start to learn and you start to realize that, student loans, you got to pay back. It's a bill. And so I think that when you graduate from college, you have this grace period, obviously, but after a while, these loans you have to start to pay back. And so there's this sense of pressure of like, damn, like, how am I going to pay these loans back? Okay, I guess I have to get a job. And so you get a job, you know, and you work your way through that. And so college is essentially setting you up to be an employee. College is setting you up to work for a company, to work in this structured way of life. And I think that's fine for some people. But if you feel like there's a sense of, I want a bit more autonomy and freedom, college may not be the way for you. Maybe taking a couple classes here and there while maybe you're working and saving. But at the end of the day, life is about skill acquisition. Life is about developing, working on, and creating value to other people. And value comes from skills. It comes from knowing how to use certain tools to get the result other people want. And there's so many type of skills you can have. There's communication skills. For me, I'm really good at video editing. That's a skill. I can take photos really well. That's a skill. Maybe you have a skill of, maybe you're a great writer. That's a skill. There's so many different skills out there. Maybe you're great at selling. Maybe you make people feel really comfortable when you're around them and you can get an idea of the things that they want, their desires, what their dreams are, and you can sell them the things that they actually want because they trust you. And so maybe you have that skill. There's so many skills out there. When we're young, we aren't taught this though. In high school, we are taught that we need to memorize textbooks, memorize formulas, memorize history, and all these things are skills we're learning that we can apply. But real life skills, in my opinion, it comes down to how you can connect with other people, how you can learn and understand other people. And that comes down to having skills. Like you gotta figure out the skills when it comes to that. And so my whole point is that no, I don't think there's necessarily steps you can skip, but I think there's things that as a person, if you're young, there's things you can start to focus on to develop these skills. And the thing as well about college is that it's full of many distractions. It's full of so many distractions. It's full of peer pressure from every single corner. It's full and it takes a strong person. It takes a strong will. I didn't have a strong will in a sense. I had a strong will at certain times. At certain times I didn't. Certain pockets of my college experience, I didn't have a strong will to say no to certain peer pressure. And I think that caught up with me. I think drinking. I think I didn't smoke, but I think being sexually active. I think just being wanting to court girls, wanting to be at a party, wanting to be in search of certain social environments that maybe weren't actually improving me or helping me develop skills, at least the way that I think my skills should have been developed. But then there's the other side. Maybe the skills that I developed had to do with more being social and more of having fun and being a bit more flexible and not being as rigid. So, however you want to look at it, it comes down to how you believe what you're learning is going to be applied in the future. I wasn't thinking about that at all. And I think as a young kid, you should be thinking about that. You should be thinking about how what you're doing right now can be applied to your future self. Because your future self is what you're always working on. You're working on yourself currently, but the goal is to one day look up and be like, damn, I did 6 months of time in the gym. I see my arms are getting a little bigger. My shoulders are upright. My neck is getting a little whatever. My stomach is getting flatter, leg, whatever it is. You are working on your future self. And to work on your future self, a large part of it is to realize that it comes down to development, self-development, developing your skills. And for me, self-mastery has become such an important thing current day for me, because at the end of the day, it's self. It is developing yourself first, everyone else around you second. And if you don't develop yourself, if you don't master yourself, how can you pass any type of wisdom? How can you pass any type of skills? How can you pass any type of confidence or assurance in other people if you haven't developed yourself and are continuously trying to develop yourself?